Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are taking a highly targeted look at something literally every modern business leader needs to master right now. We're basing this on the updated March 2026 Technical Guide on SaaS Security. Our goal here is to completely demystify securing your cloud applications. We're going to strip away the complex jargon and give you a crystal clear, highly practical roadmap to protect your organization's most sensitive data.
Okay, let's dive into this with a number that should honestly just stop you in your tracks. 130. Based on recent data, the average organization today uses over 130 different software-as-a-service applications. I mean, really let that sink in for a second. That is not just 130 tools making your team more productive. We are talking about 130 separate attack surfaces. To understand how to protect this massive footprint, we first have to define what SaaS security actually is. Unlike traditional on-premise IT, where your team could literally walk down the hall into a server room and pull the plug, SaaS security is a whole different ballgame. It requires protecting data in environments you don't host, you don't fully control, and you certainly don't run on your own infrastructure. The rules of the game have entirely changed here. So, here is our roadmap for today. 1. The SaaS security myth. 2. Layer 1, identity and access. 3. Layer 2, data and integrations. 4. Layer 3, governance and readiness. And 5. Assessing your score. Section 1. The SaaS security myth.
Now, what's really interesting here is this highly dangerous assumption in modern business. It's this comforting yet entirely false belief that just because you're paying a premium SaaS vendor, they're handling all of your security for you. Well, the shared responsibility model completely shatters that myth. Notice the divide. Your provider absolutely owns the physical network and the platform uptime, but you own the identity and access configuration. You own the data and third-party integrations. When an incident happens, sure, they might notify you, but the response, that is entirely on your shoulders.
Look, if you take only one thing away from this explainer, let it be this exact paradigm shift. Your SaaS provider secures the platform. You secure how your people use it. Almost all SaaS breaches happen in the areas that you are strictly responsible for. Section 2, Layer 1, Identity and Access. With that reality check in place, let's explore our very first layer of defense. In the cloud, identity is the new perimeter. It is all about exactly who holds the keys to your corporate castle. Identity-based attacks like stolen credentials and hijacked sessions are hands down the #1 vector for SaaS breaches. Think about it. Attackers don't need to hack a firewall if they can simply log in as your VP of sales. So to stop this, the guide outlines 3 absolute non-negotiables: multi-factor authentication, single sign-on, and role-based access control. And that last one just means applying the principle of least privilege, giving people only the access they strictly need to do their day-to-day jobs and absolutely nothing more. Let's get very practical about multi-factor authentication for a minute. The standard requires robust MFA, ideally using physical hardware keys, applied to every single user. The guide warns strictly against SMS-only MFA, which is incredibly easily intercepted these days. But more importantly, it highlights a massive security flaw you have to avoid: exempting executives for the sake of convenience. An attacker loves nothing more than a highly privileged executive account with no MFA. There can be 0 exceptions here. Building on that, we have single sign-on, or SSO, which is just massive for business value. Without it, when an employee leaves, your IT team faces the literal nightmare of manually hunting down and deactivating their access across those 130 different apps we talked about earlier. With SSO, you have one single central control point. You click one button, and access is instantly revoked across the board. That stops former employees from logging into forgotten corporate accounts weeks or months down the line.
Section 3, Layer 2, Data and Integrations.
Okay, so once you've locked down who can get in, you have to look at where your data actually flows and how those 130+ applications are talking to each other behind the scenes. A really critical vulnerability here is what we call the dangerous trust chain. Applications talk to each other via APIs and integrations, right? If a tiny, seemingly harmless marketing widget you integrated 3 years ago gets breached, attackers can use that existing connection to tunnel straight into your core CRM. You have to verify your data is encrypted to standard, inventory every single third-party connection, and ruthlessly rotate your API keys so old connections don't just sit there as open backdoors. And because SaaS literally makes sharing a breeze, you absolutely must have technical guardrails in place. You want to implement data loss prevention, or DLP. Classify your data and use the software to technically restrict the external sharing of confidential files.
What the guide emphasizes you cannot do is just rely on user awareness training, crossing your fingers, and hoping employees won't accidentally make a sensitive financial document public. The software itself must enforce the rules.
And there's a vital reason those technical guardrails are necessary. For every one sanctioned, IT-approved application, employees are typically using 3 unmonitored shadow SaaS apps. They just sign up with their corporate email, bypass IT entirely, and start uploading company data. Most organizations severely underestimate their SaaS footprint by 2 to 3 times just because of this hidden sprawl.
Section 4. Layer 3. Governance and Readiness.
Pivoting from setting up defenses to total visibility, remember this golden rule. You cannot protect what you cannot see. You need centralized audit logging across your critical apps, tracking who logged in and especially who exported large amounts of data. You also need a mature vendor risk program. You really have to evaluate the security of a third-party vendor before you sign the contract and keep monitoring them continuously afterward.
So the crucial point here is this. Your existing traditional incident response plan is likely useless in the cloud. Think about it. In SaaS, you can't capture network traffic, you can't isolate a physical host, you can't just pull a server off a rack when things go wrong. You absolutely must demand SaaS-specific playbooks from your security team that focus specifically on account compromise and vendor breach responses.
And to clean up that shadow SaaS problem we talked about earlier, here is exactly how the guide recommends finding it. First, audit the third-party OAuth connections in your core hubs, like Google Workspace or Microsoft 365. Second, check your single sign-on logs. If an app isn't going through SSO, it's completely unmanaged. And third, honestly, the easiest trick in the book, review the expense reports. If employees are expensing random software subscriptions, well, you've just found your shadow IT.
Section 5. Assessing your security score.
All right, we've covered the myth, the layers, and the governance. Now let's make this highly actionable for you. The guide provides a really practical framework to take directly to your next IT leadership meeting. Have them rate your organization from 1 to 5 across these critical domains. A 5 means you have SSO and strong MFA everywhere. It means your data is classified and technically restricted. It means your integrations are fully inventoried and you have tested SaaS-specific incident response playbooks ready to go right now.
Once you run those numbers across the 8 core domains from the source material, you're going to get a score out of 40. If you're scoring 35 to 40, congratulations, you have a highly mature program. If you are sitting in the 15 to 24 range, you are carrying significant risk and you need to lock down identity right away. And here's a massive bonus to all of this. Implementing these exact practices naturally satisfies the requirements for major compliance frameworks like SOC 2 and ISO 27001. At the end of the day, good security equals good compliance.
So we'll end with this. The days of blindly trusting your SaaS vendors are completely over. The blueprints to secure your cloud environment are right here in front of you. The only question left to answer is what is your organization's SaaS security score? Go find out. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.